Hey there friends, how are you doing? I'm Dominique. Welcome to my channel. So today I woke up just not really in the mood to do much of anything. And it started this spiral for me where I started getting in my head about how lazy I was being, how there was so much I had to do, especially this month. I am launching my very first live online course. And yeah, I just started really taking jabs at myself. My inner critic was getting at me. And so this is a great time to just kind of talk a little bit about how I manage a day where I am just not feeling like doing anything. And by the way, I am back at my folks' house. I left all of my filming gear at home, just still being all over the place. So I'm having to film this on my laptop. So I'm hoping the quality isn't too horrible. I will have plenty of clips though that I'm going to be placing in the video just so I can show you how my day turned out. So this felt like a perfect day to just film and chat with you guys a little bit about how I manage my inner critic and my emotional and mental well-being on days like this where I don't feel like doing anything, because in the past, because I am a recovering people pleaser and procrastinator and perfectionist. I mean, yeah, you throw it out there, I'm recovering from it. And boy, I would have just torn myself to pieces. So today I want to share a couple tips with you that I use with myself and again with my clients. But I first want to start off by talking a little bit about the inner critic or the ego that can come up for us when we are feeling just off balance. And this morning I found myself right from the get-go starting to take jabs at myself. And I love the acronym JABS because it is, and I'll show you the book here. It is from this book. Lighting is kind of crazy. The Anxiety Doctor, Anxiety RX, Dr. Russell Kennedy. Absolutely love his work. And I am so grateful that right now I have the opportunity to be working with him as a mentor. But in his book, he talks about how we can take jabs at ourselves. And it stands for judgment, abandonment, blame, and shame. So when I start to feel I'm, a little bit off, my mental state just is feeling overwhelmed, or I'm simply feeling like I want to procrastinate, I notice that my ego can start creeping in and taking over the show, throwing jabs at me. So I can start judging myself for not working hard enough when I should be go, go, go. I start to abandon myself, which is abandoning my needs, not listening to what my body is trying to tell me and what it needs in this time. And then that leads into the blame and the shame for why aren't I strong enough? I should be able to handle this. And it just really spirals out of control for us when our ego pops in. And ultimately, the ego is just trying to protect us. Even though it definitely doesn't seem like that, that is what the ego is trying to do, is to protect us from something happening again. So if there is an event in the past that was very traumatizing and something starts to trigger that. So for me, it's kind of feeling lazy, feeling like I'm procrastinating, because in the past, I always had an issue with feeling like I wasn't good enough. So my ego tends to pop in sometimes. And no matter how much healing you have been working on, it doesn't matter if you've been doing this for 10 years or 6 months, you will have these little step backs. I'm not going to say setback. It's just one step back, one step forward, and more forward, and then back again. And This is totally normal. The thing that I like to really remind my clients and friends in general is that the difference in your healing is that you're no longer going to get stuck in these backslides. So in the past, I would get stuck in the jabs, that judgment, abandonment, blame, shame. But now I recognize it's coming up. I recognize that it is not the truth. And then I find a way to create my truth. So I no longer get stuck within the jabs that I can throw at myself. And I think this is really important for you guys to really hear as well, because I know a lot of you that follow me are on your own healing journey. And I just want to really remind you that just because you have, a month of good days and then one bad day that really hits you hard, that does not mean you are failing at healing. It's all about getting back up, because the more persistent you are, the less these bad days are going to affect you, the less of an impact they will have on your life. So for all of you out there that are doing your healing work and making it through those hard days, you are amazing, and just keep going. I am there with you. Trust me. I have lots of bad days. And you know what? Sometimes you just have to give in to those bad days. I'm not going to say like give in and just like, throw it all out the window. Give in and just allow yourself to feel all of the emotions that are coming up for you. Because a lot of the times when we try to mask them and, perk ourselves up in a fake way, this is when it can linger even longer, because sometimes those emotions just need to be there. Okay, that was my soap opera right there. But this leads me into sharing with you a couple of tips that I love to use on lazy days. So tip number 1 is to frickin' commit to being lazy and not doing anything. Now, I'm not saying commit to vegging out on autopilot. I mean, like, commit to replenishing yourself the way you are needing it. And the way I like to identify this is I take a moment in the morning and I'll just sit with myself and I'll just kind of get myself present into my body, get myself grounded, because if I'm still throwing jabs at myself, that means I am up here in my head, and you are not going to find answers within your mind. So I get myself present, I sit with it, I feel into my body for what it is that I'm needing in this moment. And then I like to journal about it. I don't always recommend journaling beforehand when you're feeling like strong emotions, because I feel like journaling can keep you too much in your mind. And at this point, after spending time in your body, the journaling helps to anchor in the thoughts that came up for me when I was within my body. And I can reflect back on what it was that I was feeling as well. So it just helps to give me more clarity. And I think it's a wonderful practice anytime you're feeling some sort of disturbance within your emotional state. Getting yourself anchored and present, and then journaling a little bit about what came up for you. And the journaling that I do doesn't take long. Like, it's not pages and pages. I don't hold myself to a specific amount of journaling. I will journal as much or as little as I want. And that is what works for me, because I can be a little bit of a rebel too. I want to do what I want to do at that particular moment, and it can change. So that first tip, commit to it. Okay. Once you figure out what it is that you are needing, for me, I was still feeling very overwhelmed from the past couple of weeks that I spent with my grandmother. And the time we were in Tennessee was with more family, and there wasn't much just quiet time for myself. And so I came to realize that I just needed to be with nature. I needed to be within my body and to nourish my body. So coming to this realization, it allowed me to then identify the activities that I wanted to commit to for the day. And I do have in my journal a list of activities that fill my tank. And I think something that's really great to do, besides just having this list as a go-to list for you in times like this, is to also create a list of activities that can be done quickly versus some activities that you can make a day out of. So for me, one of my activities is going to the botanical gardens nearby, and that is like a whole day event. I love it so much, I can just get lost there for hours and hours. But if I feel like there's some other things that I want to kind of squeeze in there, and the thought of spending too much time somewhere is overwhelming for me, I'll pick something small. So what I decided to do for this morning was to take a walk in nature, just in silence, no distractions, no audiobook or music. I brought my phone with me so I could take pictures of all the beautiful flowers coming up, and I just allowed myself to be with nature. Nature is one of those activities, just walking in it is one of those activities that fills my tank greatly. And after that, I came home and I did some yoga and really just allowed myself to be present within my body. So by committing to doing the activities that would actually replenish me, there's so much less guilt in the back of my mind. And, for you guys as well, after you've created this list of activities that fill your tank, and you use it on a day where you're feeling lazy or unmotivated, it gives you a sense of still having a purposeful day. And that's my second tip, is to make this day intentional. So you are going to be intentional with the time you take. That doesn't mean sitting on the couch, watching Netflix and scrolling through your phone, because that is really a method of dissociation where we are trying everything possible to stay out of our bodies, out of the present moment, and just be off in our minds, daydreaming or distracted by all the other drama that's on TV and on our phones. So it's fine at the end of the day to, really veg out and watch some Netflix. I love it. Like, I really enjoy Netflix and TV shows, but I use it purposefully. I use it as some quality time with my husband because we'll watch something we both really enjoy, but I don't use it to mask or to block myself from feeling emotions that are coming up. And today, definitely a lot of overwhelm was there. And I've talked in the past in my procrastination video about how our emotions work and how we can really categorize the whole realm of different emotions under two areas, which would be fear and love. We're either doing things out of fear or we're doing things out of love. And this morning I was in the world of fear because I thought to myself, well, if I take today off, I'm not going to be able to get my course done in time. Then it's not going to, really be successful. And then I'm not going to be successful. And so that was just me focusing on just being fearful of what could potentially happen, where I fully know in the back of my mind that my work will still be there tomorrow. I don't have any deadlines. I'm jumping the gun, and it's okay if I take a day to replenish myself so I can show up even stronger the next day. So with our emotions being rooted in fear or love, that guided me towards identifying how I can bring myself back over to the side of love. And by being intentional with how I was going to be lazy today is where I was able to do that for myself, because loving myself by filling my needs is going to allow me to give and love more greatly to others and to other areas of my life. So I now am able to be my own healer in this case, where I know what to do to pull myself out of a state of fear and back into a state of love by identifying how I could be intentional with today. And between those two tips that I just shared, this is where we can then start to create a day that is actually full of purpose and bring ourselves out of that mindset of being lazy and not achieving anything, because in the long run, our well-being, mental, physical, is everything. Without that, we cannot serve others or ourselves at the level we're desiring. So I feel at this point so good with my choice to take a lazy day, because I feel more present, I feel more anchored, I feel refreshed to actually start doing something. And actually, I am like really eager to start doing some work right now, and I'm not gonna allow myself. I know that it would make sense to like take advantage of those bursts of energy, but you know what? I promised myself that today was purely for intentional use to provide what I needed. And that was just quality time to just be. We're not human doings, we're human beings. And by allowing yourself days to simply just be, it is seriously one of the most fulfilling and rewarding feelings you can possibly find. I encourage you guys to really examine what emotions are coming up for you. Most likely, if you're feeling lazy or unmotivated, it is going to be anchored in fear. So sit with yourself, get present, get anchored into your body, and allow your body to speak its needs to you. It takes practice to do this, absolutely does. But every minute you spend stopping yourself from doing work or any distractions and getting yourself present and simply just being with your breath and in your body versus in your head, you are wiring your nervous system to recognize safety in the present moment and to recognize that this is where your nervous system ultimately flourishes. So the more you practice, the easier it's going to get, I promise you, because it's something that I very much struggled with back in the day. I had no clue how to get into my body and to get grounded, but I started off small. I started off by setting random alarms to go off throughout the day, and that was a signal for me to stop everything I was doing, to close my eyes, and just sit and focus on my breath. And every time your mind drifts off, you recognize it, and you say, okay, now back to the breath. No judgment, just curiosity. And it is certainly going to amplify your ability to more easily identify your own needs and to more easily identify what isn't working for you. What do you maybe need to level up in your life in order to truly live the way you are desiring, whether it's you want to live in a state of calm and peace or a state of happiness and fun. And we really can only come to those answers by learning to become grounded within our body. So today, I loved it. I loved doing nothing. And I want to encourage you guys, take advantage of those days where you feel like doing nothing. I know it's not easy. And I know, especially if you're a mother or a caregiver, it's definitely not easy to be able to just like, okay, sure, I'm not going to take care of anyone today. You just take it all on your own. But you always have a choice of just putting in little activities throughout your day that are nourishing your needs in some way. Create that list of activities that fill your tank. Make a list of activities that take most of the day, activities that take just a few minutes or, an hour or two, so you have options. Because yes, we're not always going to have the opportunity to take a full day off, but we can find ways to really still tend to our needs through these little activity menus. But in the event that you have the opportunity for a day of just being, take advantage of it. Spend that day loving yourself. Spend that day doing the activities that lift you, that energize you, that bring you joy. I promise you will not regret not being on the couch, watching Netflix and scrolling your phone. I promise you will feel so fulfilled and like you accomplished something by the end of the day. Now, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below how you usually manage or feel on days where you're not feeling like doing much of anything. On these lazy days, do you tend to throw jabs at yourself, or do you honor your needs and kind of go with the flow and find ways to really fill your tank? I know that it's something that I'm constantly working on, and I'm always so proud of myself when I do honor these needs on particular days like today. And so I would love to be able to encourage you guys to do the same. If you're needing encouragement, chat with me down below. And then I would also love to hear from you guys if you have any ideas of videos that you would like to see in the future, or if you have any questions for me you would like me to create as a video, leave those down below. And until next time, sending you so much healing love.